But you've got your GDP print as well, which is due today. So let me welcome on board Indranil Sen Gupta from CLSA joining in to talk about what he's making of the macros right now. Indranil, hi, great to have you on the show today. Amid concerns around slowing global economy, what is your expectations from the Indian economy in terms of the growth numbers? Is it really that bright spot?
So, India obviously, has the advantage of domestic demand. So, while we will also be affected, the impact on India is typically much less than most other emerging markets. So, we are looking at a growth of 7% this evening, 6.4% for the year, and about 6.5% next year. So, we've seen that. And US slowdown typically affects us by 100 basis points. Need to see how much, the severity of that slowdown before we come to further, numbers.
Sure. Indranil, there are also hopes for a Fed pivot, which have intensified. 10-year yields after hitting a peak of just over 5% in October have slid to 4.25%. Do you believe that Fed is done with the rate hike cycle?
So we do believe that the Fed is done. Maybe it'll be on hold for a while to see that inflation, retraces back to the 2% target. Maybe second half of next year. So we do believe that the Fed is done.
About the Fed, opinion in terms of whether they are done raising rates or not. But what about back home in India? Inflation seems to have moderated. Would it lead you to believe that RBI might too reverse its rate hiking cycle?
So we actually have a contrarian call for an RBI rate cut in December. Inflation is no longer a concern. If inflation is 4.9, core is 3.8, that is no case to keep the repo rate at 6.5%. So I'm sure that, as the RBI gains confidence that the Fed is done, they will start to cut rates.
Okay, so perhaps India would be leading as far as the rate cut cycle is concerned. But Indranil, what about the latest high-frequency indicators that we have gotten? What do you see in terms of the urban versus rural consumption trends that we are witnessing?
So rural strain is very clear in most of these indicators. We ourselves estimate that farmer income during the Kharif crop will contract by 3.4%, versus an increase of, I think, around 8-9% last year. You can also see the, enrollments under NREGA rising. So clearly, rural India is under stress. You can also see the government taking various measures. Urban unemployment is, I think, broadly in line with trend at this point in time. So I don't think there is so much of an issue with urban consumption. It is rural consumption that is stressed at this point in time.
Sure. So in the current context, what's your outlook on the Indian markets? I mean, is India a safe haven in the current global volatility?
In a way, yes. But again, our valuations are also, challenging. And we are seeing some kind of a time correction. If you look at the year-on-year increase in the Nifty, it is about, I think, 8%. And going forward, we see a fairly range-bound market at this point in time. My strategy sees a fairly range-bound market at this point in time.
Right. So what themes are you recommending right now? Sectors, something that you're going to avoid and something you feel that is fairly priced right now?
So I think, to cut a long story short, we are bullish on financials and bearish on consumption.
Okay. Okay, and finally, before I let you go back to your CLSA India Forum, which has seen quite a bit of interest, Indranil, your take on the long-term trajectory for the Indian economy. What are you hearing from the participants in the conference as well?
Yeah, so we think that India will touch the size, Japan in size by 2027, will grow to about 45 trillion by 2052 and almost 90 trillion till by 2072. Net from 2027, India will be the third largest in the economy in the world in the foreseeable future, after China and the US.
Point taken, Indranil. On that note, we'll let you go. Appreciate you making time and speaking with us.